Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Our first story is about a good boss facing bad employees, but there will be a happy ending. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Be careful what you wish for. Many years ago, when I was just out of my teens, I landed a job in a plastics molding factory. They made all the acrylic fittings for the automotive industry, headlight protectors, bonnet guards, and weather shields for the most part. The factory was owned by three brothers who had started out in their garage and built it up into a multi-million-dollar business. I really liked these guys, and they were very down-to-earth, hard workers with no holier-than-thou type attitude. They also made sure to take care of their staff. Everyone wore the same uniform from the office staff to the assembly line workers, and everyone was well paid and cared for. They knew everyone by first name, and you were expected to use theirs. No sir allowed. They liked to come around each week to see how everything was running and always listen to the staff. You would think it was idyllic, right? Enter the unions. Now, I have nothing against unions for the most part. They serve to keep the bad employers in check. But when the employers are as good as the three brothers, there's no need for the unions to get involved. But they did. Some dirtbag, I never found out who, decided that they needed to be paid more and get more holidays or whatever. Next thing we knew, we had people protesting and stopping the lines, petitions, etc., etc. It turned a good job into a daily pain in the arse. It's really a pity that no one bothered to check up on their entitlements under the law first. So the brothers called a meeting of all workers and agreed that, as of this pay cycle, everyone was to be awarded the highest level pay rate and holiday allowance required by law as per the union's demands. Cue big cheers from the union jerks until the pay rate was announced. We would be getting a pay cut of roughly 10% across the board, as well as a week's less holiday time. You could have heard a pin drop. Yes, that's correct. We had previously been paid well above the legally required rate. The problem is that no one had actually bothered to find out what that rate was. Well, the next 4 weeks were interesting to say the least. The whole place was a simmering pot of anger and resentment. The workers who'd been pushing union were given a rough time to say the least. It was made abundantly clear that they were not welcomed by their coworkers, and several of them quietly resigned. We all received our much smaller pay and holiday accrual in silence. So after letting us stew for the 4 weeks, we again were called to an all-staff meeting. The brothers announced they would like to restore pay and holidays to previous levels if that was okay with us. They were not being snide about it, they were really genuinely honest. They also explained that while they cannot legally demand unions stay out of the place, we should perhaps think about it in the future before anything happens and just talk to them instead. I will always remember those three men. Good men to the last. And our second story. Ex-boyfriend gets angry at me when my parents don't hand over 15 grand. Some backstory. I dated this guy for a long time and was a nice guy, choosy beggar, and entitled person all wrapped in one. I have tons of stories, but this made me laugh. I was the only one who worked, and he sat at home eating macas and playing games, drinking, and being lazy AF. He destroyed my bank account daily. Anyway, one day I received this phone call after work. BF, hey, I need you to ask your parents for something. Me, skeptical. Like what? I just want them to give me a loan. My parents are very wealthy, but despise my boyfriend because of how much he takes from me. No, sorry, I really doubt they'll give you a loan. I already owe them so much for keeping my car on the road, I only need $15,000. Me, silent for a heartbeat, and then oh so carefully, they're not going to give you $15,000. What would you even need that for? I'm gonna buy a car. $15,000? You can buy a decent one for $5,000. I'm still not asking my mom and dad to give you $15,000 I myself would never ask for. But I want a decent car. New one if I can. And besides, I can pay him back when my house sells. His mom's house isn't even on the market, and he thinks it's going to sell next week, and he's going to pay mom and dad real quickly. Me. Houses take a long time to sell. It could take years. No, it won't. Yes, it will. I've done this 4 times living with my family, and even so, Mom and Dad aren't going to give you $15,000. He explodes. That's because they effing hate me. Me, internally. Oh, here we go. They're horrible effing people. I should burn their house down and make them have nothing. Me. They don't have to give you anything. That's because they effing hate me. They always have. Selfish effing minors. Yeah, I know. Look, I gotta go. I hang up and call Mom, and she explodes into laughter. Dad does too. We had another good laugh when the boyfriend asked me to pay for skydiving lessons so he could start up a skydiving school. But at this point in time, I'm just happy he's blocked on all social media. After this happened, he didn't talk about it much, but showed me stupidly expensive cars. I paid no mind. I was too busy thinking of ways of escaping his abuse. And our last story. Drive long, sharp nails into my fence? Kill my vine? Okay. When I was a kid, we had a next-door neighbor who was a total Mega B. Mega B was a 40-something woman who liked high heels, big jewelry, lots of makeup, and wore long, flowery kaftans in garish colors that did not flatter her. She had a big perm. Remember, it's the 70s, a huge butt, and was notorious in our neighborhood for being entitled. Her favorite thing was to go to neighbors' landings, either early in the morning or late at night, and steal decorations and potted plants, which she would then put in her backyard. She once even dug up someone's small tree out of her front yard because, according to the neighbor, she felt it would look better in her garden. Total B. For the most part, she left my family alone. My family has a take-no-crap rep in the neighborhood, and she knew it, only to glare at me and my siblings when we played outside. She hated kids. Sadly, that didn't last. One day, one of my sisters got badly sliced by a long nail when she went to pick flowers off the passion flower vine on the fence. Important later. Turned out Mega B had hammered dozens of long nails into our fence so she could hang potted plants she'd most likely stolen. The leaves on the vine had hidden them, until my sister got sliced. She had to get a tetanus shot, which made her sick all day. Mom was PO'd, so she went out and actually spent the rest of the day hammering each and every nail back out through the fence and back into Mega B's garden, causing many of the pots to fall and break. This is probably why she did what she did. About a month later, my mom goes into our kitchen and sees a man in our yard. She goes out and asks, "WTF are you doing?" Guy tells her he was a gardener and had been hired to get rid of the vine on the fence. Mom asked him who had hired him to do this. "The owner of the fence," he told her and gestured to Mega B's house. Mom told him calmly, since none of this was his fault, that it wasn't Mega B's fence and she was the owner. The poor guy was horrified. However, the damage was done. He'd already cut into the hardwood and roots, and now our vine was dead. After the poor guy left, Mega B stiffed him, we found out later. Mom went to Mega B's house and confronted her. That bee didn't even deny it, just laughed in my mom's face and said, "I did it, so what? It's not like you can do anything about it," then sauntered back into her house. She'd just messed with the wrong family. 2 days later, Mega B went on a 2-week vacation with her husband, an a-hole, to Cabo. Revenge time. The day she left, my older siblings, along with a family friend, decided Mega B's back garden needed improvements, so they climbed the fence, went into her garden, dug up all the pretty flowers and small trees, carted them out along with the stolen decorations, and replaced them with high pollen weeds, quick-growing ivy, and lots of poison oak and poison ivy that they'd carefully dug up from a nearby state park. I was too young to help, sadly. We then temporarily moved our 3 dogs into our backyard. Neighbor was afraid of them, despite the fact they were 2 Pomeranians and a small mutt. We also had a 9-foot fence, which was too high for her husband's fat butt to climb, so we knew our garden would be safe from her. My family excitedly waited. When Mega B got back and saw her new and improved garden, she threw the biggest, most epic tantrum and meltdown we'd ever seen. It was spectacular. A whole class of sugared-up, PO'd preschoolers couldn't have thrown a bigger tantrum. From the top of the fence, we all watched. Dad took the day off to see the freak-out, as he put it, as Mega B screamed and ranted, pulled her hair, kicked the weeds, and threw anything she could get her hands on, all the while cussing and screeching like she was getting a chili powder enema. Then she spotted all of us watching her. She yelled and cursed at all of us laughing kids, coming to the correct conclusion that we had done this to her precious garden. By this time, all the surrounding neighbors were also watching, but she, of course, zeroed in on us. Megabee then stormed over to our house and banged on our door until Mom opened the door. Dad let her deal with it, as he was still laughing his butt off. Megabee then demanded my family to not only put all those ugly plants out, and to, of course, pay for new ones and plant them, and to do it now, right now. Our mom just looked at her, yawned, and told her she had zero proof it was her kids who'd done it. Mom knew, even sat and watched with me as my siblings did it, laughing the whole time. I think at one point my dad even helped. Mom then reminded her that she had stolen dozens of plants from the neighbors, had been caught blatantly stealing from their front gardens, yet was surprised that someone had retaliated. Mom laughed, told her to F off, and went back inside. She ranted at us through the door for about an hour till her voice blessedly gave out, then stomped back to the house. She avoided us from then on and would give a death glare to my mom whenever she saw her. Mom would just smile, give her the finger, and go about her business. She was intimidated by my dad and wouldn't do anything when he was around, but Dad worked a lot, so wasn't there most of the time. We donated most of the dug-up plants to our neighbors she'd stolen from and returned the stolen ornaments and decorations to their rightful owners, if we found them, but kept 2 rose bushes, which we planted by our back gate, a ceramic hearth cat, which I still have, and a glass and metal sun god decoration nobody claimed. Megabee never did get rid of all the weeds and didn't realize it was poison oak she was pulling, barehanded, until she and her husband got horrible rashes over 1/3 of their bodies, and I was told in some very unfortunate places. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.